Well, they released the Hierophant class in Inquisitor Martyr, and I have to say, it's kind of cool. I know that's not exactly glowing praise, but I'll get into it a little bit more in this video. Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I'm going to dive into the new character class just released for the Inquisitor Martyr game. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel, drop a like, leave a comment, and don't forget the notification bell. So let's dive right in. I can't talk about the Hierophant without addressing some of the game as well. When I first grabbed the character, I intended to jump in and power level him through a bunch of random missions. Unfortunately, I hadn't completed everything in Prophecy yet, it turned out, so I went back to my sister character and finished every single mission that was still available. And even though I was pretty far into it, I still had quite a ways to go, several hours at the very least. So with that in mind, one needs to ask the question, what's the point of the Hierophant for a returning player? They aren't releasing new seasons, you can just play through the old ones now. There's nothing on the roadmap for another expansion, and I couldn't find any plans for continued support. Basically, this character comes at a time when the game is pretty much end of life. Someone made a comment on my previous Inquisitor Martyr video about this game dying so many times it was like the Emperor and it just wouldn't fade away. But I honestly think that at this point, it is on the verge of being completely done. So is there a point to the Sister of Battle or the Hierophant? The answer depends on what you want to do. If you're looking for some kind of end game, I mean, it's there. You could do Void Crusades, push your DPS and gear, it's all available, and even the seasons themselves, you can pick whichever one you want. But it's really just a grind on a game that came out in 2018 without any real future. And while I had fun with it, even 6 years after the fact, I don't know how much it's worth throwing a lot of time into theory crafting a game that's effectively going to sleep. Just shy of 2,000 players played in the last 24 hours according to the Steam charts. The all-time peak was 10,000 players back in June of 2018 when it first came out. And prior to the Hierophant coming out, they were running peaks between like 400 and 900 players. This influx probably came from a few dedicated sorts, curious about the Hierophant. And whenever you see a spike, I'm guessing it was some kind of announcement. Maybe it was a Steam sale or a new season, something like that. But I can think of a couple of reasons to pick up the Hierophant or the Sister. If you haven't completed the campaign before, that's absolutely worth it for sure. I completed the story campaign at just over 50 hours, and that included the DLC as well as running some random missions here and there to do some grinding. There's just a ton to do, and I really enjoyed the story. I can't recommend it enough. It's awesome. If you haven't tried it in a while, it might be fun to pick it up with a new character class. The Hierophant offers some pretty cool build options, and Neocore has made the game considerably easier. There were a few quests on my first time through that I really struggled with on launch, but in my most recent playthrough, I only died when I took on a random mission that was just too much of a high level or had some crazy modifiers from the tarot. You could juice up the difficulty if you want on the campaign as well, if you just want more of a challenge, so there's definitely a reason to go through again. Now, I just finished everything in order to play the Hierophant the way I wanted, and so my desire to jump right back in for the story just wasn't quite there. And the game isn't exactly friendly with advancing by random missions. I saw some things about it where they don't reset properly. Half the missions were dramatically lower level than I was, so I had to use the sector map to find proper missions for my grinding. And that's all I did. I did some grinding up to get to the second retinue member, and it became a nuisance to continue. With all of that out of the way, let's talk about the class itself. I've only really scratched the surface of the possibilities. The Hierophant is a character that uses other characters to do most of the dirty work. They start with the Crusader and then unlock the Assassin at level 20, a Psyker at level 35, and a Sister of Battle at level 50. Each of these characters has a limited gear set and their own skill tree that you can manage, so you've got a little bit of micromanagement going on there. And that might be annoying for someone who doesn't want to keep track of that much equipment, especially when you have 4 additional characters running around with you. I also kind of wish that they would have let you pick your retinue order. I suppose some of them must be super OP, or maybe it was just easier to set it up in a specific order. But if 2 people were playing the Hierophant and going at it co-op, and one had the Assassin to start and the other went with the Sister, that would have been pretty cool. Instead, you're railroaded with the order and it just felt a little cheap. The character itself has a variety of powers to use, but the more important aspect of them comes down from their ability to command the retinue and buff them up with their passive skills. You have a whole line of powers that you can switch to that tells your retinue to do things like go to long range or attack a specific target, defend something, do a taunt, etc. It's a little bit like playing a real-time strategy game in that regard, and it gives you some pretty nifty control. It makes you feel like you're in command of them. When one of them goes down, you can revive them, or there are actually powers to allow them to self-revive. When I unlocked the Assassin, it was actually kind of madness to watch her and the Crusader just roam around and stomp house, killing everything in sight. Kind of reminded me of the Necromancer in Diablo. At a certain point, you have so many minions that they're just charging ahead and clearing rooms before sometimes you can even get in there. I'm sure there are plenty of build options. There's, pretty much all the normal passive skills you have, plus some new ones for this. The one that I bought into basically buffed my retinue, made them harder to kill, made them hit harder. And as they level up with you, they have their own skill tree that you can mess with as well. It increases their hit points, it increases their critical chances, that sort of thing. And again, they do have the limited amount of equipment that you can give them, which actually includes crafted stuff. It's a pretty neat system all around. It allows you to do quite a bit, really. And if you are fresh to the game, coming back or brand new, it offers a unique set of challenges. Gear isn't hard to get in the game, so it really won't be a huge deal to outfit the characters, especially if you've got crafting unlocked and all that good stuff. All around, I found it reasonably fun to play. Like I said at the beginning, it was kind of cool. I wasn't so wowed that I wanted to play the campaign again, and with the way the random missions currently work, I lost interest in that too. If they were updating properly, ensuring that the missions were at least within your range more often, it could have been an entertaining way to grind the character up to 50 just to watch 4 NPCs run around in Wreck House. But even as I'm writing this, nearly an hour after logging out, I went back to check the random missions. I'm level 23. There's one mission at level 16, one at 26, and everything else is 10 or lower. Considering the game doesn't really have a whole lot of support anymore, I wouldn't count on it changing or being fixed. I've seen a lot of complaints about that ranging back years now anyway, so it doesn't really seem like it's ever been a priority. And while there are plenty of other ways to level, the mission deployment screen is one of the easiest and most effective ways to grind if, it's functioning the way it's supposed to. Ultimately, without a roadmap or promises of a future expansion, in the absence of effort from Neocore to do more than release a new class, I'm not really that interested in playing again right now. If they let you play without being on the internet in the future, or maybe they, do something, anything at all, then I could see myself going back to the campaign just to experience it again. Like I said, the story is a lot of fun, and I really always loved it. But I just don't see any reason to grind up to max level. I don't have any incentive to do so. So, do I recommend the Hierophant? Well, if you haven't played the campaign, or it's been a long time, or you're missing some of the DLC, then yeah, I think it would be a really fun way to experience Martyr. The idea that you're running around with a bunch of heroes to get the work done helps make sense of the hordes you take on, normally alone. At least you're 5 people instead of just one godlike maniac capable of taking on armies. If you have played the campaign and you've already done a bunch of endgame or maybe played through a bunch of the seasons, it is probably a harder sell. It all comes down to whether or not you like the way the game plays itself, the systems, the fighting, the combat, and all that stuff. This adds a few bells and whistles to the management side, but it's not a significant departure from the normal combat experience. So weigh your desires and what else you've played before you jump on board. It'll be there, at least for a while yet. And side point, as of the recording of this, the game's only $10 on Steam. Anyway, thank you for watching the video, and I hope it offered you some insight into the state of Inquisitor Martyr. What did you think of the game? Have you finished the campaign? Are you going to play again as the Hierophant? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, slap a like and be sure to subscribe. Until next time, this is Robert, signing off.